In this section, we will try to understand a little about children's stories. Children's stories. So, this entire video is about children's stories. Why children's stories specifically? Because I have seen that in these few years, there has been a huge influx of demand for children's stories or anything related to children. Like, look at the kind of startups we have. We have Byju's and we have so many different e learning startups which are trying to get hold of children as their first customers. So, why exactly are they aiming for children? Because children are very easy to convince. Like, you don't have to play hard, you don't have to do any tricks. You have to just show them a good product and they're convinced. So, there has been a huge influx of children related content. There's a lot of e learning companies that have come up that produce children stuff. They produce, they produce nursery rhymes and something related to that with the help of videos. They have so much, there's so much of development going on in the children's stories section. So I thought that you guys should be using that opportunity in your voiceovers. Because see, we have done explainers, we have done e-learning, we have done different kind, we have done documentaries. I mean, if you just mark one line, and you'll see that all of these are kind of revolving around the same line. They will just be something around the kind of changes that you will have to do are not very, like, they're not gargantuan changes, they're going to be very marginal changes, not little changes. And little changes if you make to explainers, you can do documentaries. If you make some negative changes to documentaries, you can do e-learning. Like, there's only slight variation. But for children, you have to create your own different world with the help of your voice. How are you going to do it? And children are tough. You know, if you have children, you know that they're tough. I don't have children. But then, if you have children, it's tough. You know that. And you can't really convince them with the same kind of tone that you would be using for e learning or documentaries or explainers. They will just get bored and they'll just walk out. So, there's so much of demand being created for children related content, and it's phenomenal that the action that is happening is phenomenal. And I've seen that this has been happening since the last 2 or 3 years. I'll tell you what has happened during the pandemic. Schools were closed completely, nurseries. I mean, when I refer to children, it's in the age group of 3 to 10, 3 to 10 or 12, maximum 10 to 3 to 10, 11, 12. That's all. So what happened is that during the pandemic, schools were closed. So obviously, like, parents did not have any means of teaching children anything that they could have learned at school. See, in the age group of 3 to 5 or 6, you can't teach them online. Like, you have to be very practical. You have to, like, create the environment. You have to make them play. You have to make them do several things. That is how they will learn. Like, the learning is very activity oriented. So during the pandemic, all of this stopped. People could not play. Children could not play. Children could not go anywhere. So all of these parents resorted to these e-learning classes. These classes would actually like, make children do something. They would ask them to do some assignment. They would ask them to color something, and it would be so, like, it would be a transformation that they had been waiting for. So what happened is that, as you know, children are very adaptive. Like, children, once you give them something, it stays in their minds forever. Because young children, they have huge capacity of brain, and their brains are very fresh. They're not loaded with a lot of extra materials inside it. So they're very fresh. Hence, anything that is fed to them during those initial days of their life stays with them for a very long time. So what happened during the pandemic? Children, all of these e-learning companies created different children related content. They started creating stories. They started creating these learners. They started creating e-learning kind of content wherein they would be learning about some animal or some bird or some place or anything. And what happened is, collectively, the entire children population, the small children population, got, like, it stayed in their minds forever. So even after the schools have opened up, they are very inclined towards consuming this online kind of content. Anything that has visuals, anything that has voiceovers, anything that is very content and interactive. Besides the real world content that they already do, like going to their schools and learning, that is also there. But there has been a permanent change that has happened to these kids. So any kid which was in the range of 3 or 4 years old, when he was feeded with this online content, it stayed with in his nerves for a very long time. It's going to stay there for a very long time. So it has been ingrained into their bodies. So I'll tell you, like, all that I have just told you. I'll give you a very I'll give you a very small example, and you'll realize the intensity of the amount of consumption that is happening in everything related to children. I'll show you. Let me just show you a sample. Okay, so here's this channel like T series Kids Hunt, and we'll play a small recording, and I'll tell you later.
Family. What is wrong, Tofu? I don't want to go to school today. Jim and Jerry took all the tokens I had collected for the charity and submitted it as their own. Now they're going to win the appreciation sticker. Don't worry about it, Tofu. Sometimes it's okay to let go of things and just hold on to the joy they brought you. I don't know, Tia. Do you know a nice story to help me believe? Sure, I'll tell you a story.
My job is to make college easier because students have a lot on their
Once upon a time, a poor farmer was plowing his field. When he hit something hard, it was a large metal pot. What's this? A metal pot? I wonder if there is something more valuable underneath. In the hope that he could find something more valuable, the farmer dug deeper and wider. Tired after hours of searching, the farmer decided to rest. He left his spade in the pot.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that look at the content. Okay, it's simple story with simple animations and a voiceover, but look at the kind of views this type of content has. 4 million views. I mean, let's just go through the suggestion section. Recommendations. Look at this: 8.6 million views, 6.1 million views, 182 million views. Can you imagine? 182 million views in 2 years. 10 million views, 180 million views. 5 years ago, 724 million views, 4.7 million views, 5.7 million views, 4 million views, 1.3 million, 2.8 million, 9.4 million, 1 crore. Like, these are like above 1 crore kind of views. 4.8, 11 million, 2.5, 47, 28, 56. I can go on and go on for a very long time, and this won't stop. So look at the kind of impact there is in this segment. Imagine the kind of content consumption that is happening. Like, when you go for a documentary, you just look for a documentary. The documentary would have very slight amount of views. It will only have like 200k, 300k, 400k views. But this type of content, look at the amount of views and like the content generation and content consumption that is happening. So if there's content consumption, there's going to be demand. If there's going to be demand, there's going to be a need of voiceover artist for sure. Now, if you take a look into the voices, these are not kids' voices. These are adult voices. Okay, like kids do not do like kids. It's not necessary for kids to do kids stories. Okay, adults do adult stories because generally kids are very inclined towards adult voices. They feel safe, secure, and they feel like someone who is a fatherly or a motherly figure narrating the story. So you see how much content consumption that is happening in children's stories section. So I want you to grab this boom that is happening in content consumption related to children. There's a lot of things happening intricately Like I spotted this trend. I got some few good projects, but then look at the kind of variations that you can create with your voice. So in this children's section, okay, it is important to create a lot of variations. If you can create more than one voice, you can recreate like a child's voice, you can play an adult's voice, you can play different voices. It's going to be great because these production companies can hire one artist and they can make them do different characters. So if you can create different characters, boom, it's going to be a great success for you. So I want you to realize this opportunity and like try to make a foothold in children's stories or anything related to children, because the content is being created regularly and the children are going to be there in the world. So once children's stories, like like what do children really have as content consumption? Okay, as adults we consume so much of content. We consume documentaries, we consume some DIY videos, we consume food related videos, we do vlogs, we consume each and everything that is available on the internet. We can also watch some cars videos, we also watch makeup tutorials. I don't watch, of course. We watch so many different kinds of views. We watch so many different things all at once. But what do children really have? Like children can't be watching beauty competitions, children can't be watching any Bollywood drama, children can't be watching any of this they would just be watching these children's stories, because of course parents wouldn't promote them watching any of this kind. So hence there are a lot of views here, because the children market, the kind of consumption in children's stories is only singular. Like if they're consuming any content, that content has to revolve around either teaching or stories. Very simply put, any online content that they're consuming, it's going to be around e-learning or stories, because no one wants their children to consume anything else. Okay, so there's this huge influx of uh, content consumption in children's world. So I want you to like give it a great try at doing things. I want you to like make sure that you get some project in this, you get started, and once you get started, you'll definitely get a lot of projects from some clients. So very simply saying, the amount of variations that you can create through your voice is going to expand the spectrum of sections that you can cater to. If you can create voices of kids, also you can do e-learning, you can do explainers, you can do commercials. Look at the kind of projects that you can get. There are some people who just do e-learning, there are some people who just do children's voices, and they also make a living. But if you're able to do different types of voices, and if you can create those variations, you'll have a large set of clients, and these clients will make you rich, of course, because you'll get projects all the time, you'll just be busy all the time. Okay, this is the kind of impact that you need to create through your voice. So we'll of course get to understand this, and we'll of course study this, and we'll also like go through a script, and we'll try to understand how we are supposed to do this. Let's go ahead and take a look at the script. Okay, this is a famous story that we have all gone through in our childhood days, The Boy and the Wolf. Of course you will get a few more scripts and stories, but we'll go through this one specifically this time. So the boy and the sheep, you know this, the boy and the sheep, yeah, I think the wolf and the boy. So the story was, we used to get these stories as kid. All right, so first of all, we're going to follow all that is necessary that we usually do, that is marking the script, punctuating the script, and finding the most important sections, inflecting, intonating, and just doing everything that's necessary. Of course I'm not going to do that. You're going to do in the scripts that you have been given to you. You're going to mark it, you're going to understand how you will go through, and the things that are going to be important. So in children's scripts, you should not follow what is generally done, like in explainers or in documentaries or e-learning. You generally do this professional thing, like, once upon a time there was a boy who became bored when he watched over the village sheep grazing on the hillside. To entertain himself, he sang out. So you do this corporate kind of tone. Okay, but in children's stories, no, you can't really do this corporate kind of tone, because children's stories are going to be very simple. Like, you want to establish a connection with the child only through your voice and your narration. And with children, it's going to be difficult. You can't really go fast. You can't tell them where we can't. You have to be very expressive. You have to be completely um, non-technical. You have to be very, very simplistic, as simplistic as possible. So, for example, if you get a project that you're supposed to do for this script, now imagine yourself. Imagine if it's your child sitting next to you, and it's just 5-year-old, 5-year-old kid. You want to explain things to him or her, and can you really just say, once there was a boy, hey Ria, once there was a boy who became bored when he watched over the village sheep grazing on the hillside, and to entertain himself, he sang out, "Wolf, wolf." I mean, the kid won't really understand it. He'll be like, "Hey, mommy, what? Daddy, what? No, no, what? What did you say? Can you repeat, please? Can you do this? Can you say?" I mean, they'll just be haywire. Like, kids have to be explained very easily. Okay. So, comparatively, in these kind of scripts, you have to punctuate more than usual, sometimes more than necessary, because you have to go slow. You have to break down the sentence into different sections. You have to break down the sentence into smaller chunks, and you have to make sure that the message is clearly felt. So let's do that. I'll just give you an example. Okay. Once there was a boy who became bored when he watched over the village sheep grazing on the hillside. So you also have to add a lot of emotions, because children fathom only emotions. Okay. You have to add more fluctuations. You have to intonate more than necessary. You have to add more emotional. So, for example, just like other scripts, we'll try to find what will be the tone for this script. Okay. Tone. Tone would be conversational, light. It would also be friendly, slow, highly intonating, and expressive. So, in order to make them understand, you have to follow all of this. Wolf and the boy. Okay. So you need to follow all of this. Let's just try to understand it. So, once there was a boy who became bored when he watched over the village sheep grazing on the hillside. To entertain himself, he sang out, "Wolf! Wolf! The wolf is chasing the sheep!" When the villagers heard the cry, they came running up the hill to drive the wolf away. But when they arrived, they saw no wolf. So you have to add so much emotions to this. Okay, when the boy is shouting, he's probably completely faking it. So you have to sound as if a kid who is faking it. Because kids notice, children who are going to be listening to this story, they notice these simple emotional changes as well. Like, even the slightest changes, they will notice. So you have to make sure that you have to be very accurate in the emotional conveyance section. So the child is, the kid in the story, the boy in the story, is actually faking that the wolf is there. So he's probably not acting a lot, but he's just trying to take it very casually. So when the child is shouting "wolf, wolf," he's not really, he's not very serious about it. He just wants to fool around. So children notice these different slight variations, and you have to make sure that these variations are felt in your voice. So when he's saying "wolf, wolf," he's not really scared. He's actually enjoying it. You have to portray that very nicely. So you would need to say something like, "Wolf! Wolf! The wolf is chasing the sheep! The wolf is chasing the sheep!" So, had he been serious, he would say, "Wolf! Wolf! The wolf is chasing the sheep! The wolf!" So, he would be very scared. But the guy is actually enjoying the act. Hence, you have to portray those emotions. He's playing around. And of course, in children's stories, this is very prominent. You will have to you will have to put emotions, and you will have to change your voice slightly in those double quotations. You will have to change a little, because of course, like, you're changing the character. You're going to be from a narrator to a character now. Okay, so the next sentence. Okay, the wolf is chasing the sheep. Okay, now in the next sentence, you see, when the villagers heard the cry, they came running up the hill to drive the wolf away. Now, had it been e-learning, this would sound as if something is very factual. Okay, when the villagers heard the cry, they came running up the hill to drive the wolf away. This is what an e-learning tone would look like. But now it's a serious situation. Okay, even if the boy is acting it out, and even if the boy is like faking it out, it is a serious situation for the villagers. So you have to convey those that seriousness in your voice. So you would say something like, when the villagers heard the cry, they came running up the hill to drive the wolf away. But when they arrived, they saw no wolf. Because it's important. Like, no wolf, this entire no wolf thing, you have to make them understand that there was actually no wolf. That boy was just faking it out and totally irritated. But when they arrived, they saw no wolf. Irritated. You can create annoyed, because the villagers are probably going to be annoyed. But when they arrived, they saw no wolf. So all of these variations that you can create. Most of these children's stories are going to have a lot of fluctuations. They're going to have, like, the last sentence could be a happy sentence. The next sentence is going to be a sad sentence. The sentence ahead is going to be completely different. You have to add these emotions to every fluctuating sentence. You can't keep the tone very monotonous, and you can't keep the emotional balance as like standard. You have to just keep variating it very often. That's what is important. So now probably the boy is laughing it out. He's very amused. Okay. He's kind of like, yeah, man, I did it. Yes, I did this. I fooled these villagers. So he's amused, and he's like, he's being sarcastic, and he'll be like, so look at how we will say the next sentence. The boy was amused. The boy was amused when seeing their angry faces. The boy was amused when seeing their angry faces. Like, you have to vary the tone within the sentence itself. See, kids only understand through emotions. Okay, you can say you can just recite something and they'll be able to figure out if it was a happy tone, it was a sad tone. If, like, all these complex sentences, they might not understand completely, but they will definitely understand the tone. So you have to make sure that the tone is very expressive. So the boy was amused when seeing their angry faces. When you say angry, you have to make sure that it sounds angry. Okay. So now the villagers are they're very irritated with this boy already. So how would an irritated person sound when they advise something to someone? Don't scream wolf, boy. Don't scream wolf, boy. Don't scream wolf, boy. Don't scream wolf, boy. You can create different variations. You can create anger. You can create annoyance. You can create irritation. All of these complex emotions you can create. And then, like, this is my tone. I mean, my voice is such a kind that I cannot change my voice. Sometimes, most of the times, I change my voice and it sounds unnatural. Okay. So you should create your own tone. Like, don't scream. How would you say don't scream to someone, as a kid? Don't scream. Don't scream wolf, boy. Don't scream wolf, boy. Warn the villagers. How would you scream just step into the shoes of someone who is going to do it, or someone who is going to say it. Step into the shoes. So, and then you say, they angrily went back down the hill. Later, angrily. When there's, so make justice to the sentence, make justice to the word itself. They angrily went back down the hill. Later, the shepherd boy cried out once again. So, अरे यार ये फिर से, you have to portray this emotion. फिर से, he did it again. Oh shit, he did it again. Later, the shepherd boy cried out once again. Wolf! Wolf! The wolf is chasing the sheep! See? I'm actually sounding slightly like I'm completely like I'm very devilish smile, smirk. There's a devilish smirk in saying wolf, wolf, the wolf is chasing. Wolf, wolf, the wolf is chasing the sheep. As if I'm just laughing it out. As if I'm enjoying this. Okay, that is how you need to sound. So the boy, so look at the emotions. Like later the shepherd boy cried out once again. Again, man, what is this guy doing? You have to portray this emotion. Later, the shepherd boy cried out once again. Wolf! Wolf! The wolf is chasing the sheep! Now, he's again going to be amused because it seems like something fun to him. To his amusement, he looked on as the villagers. To his amusement, he looked on as the villagers came running up the hill to scare the wolf away. Okay. So, now again, the next sentence is going to need some disappointment to be added. As they saw there was no wolf, they said strictly, "Save your frightened cry for when there is a real wolf. Don't cry wolf when there is no wolf. Don't cry wolf when there is no wolf." You can create different versions of it. Again, the same anger that we had in the previous paragraph. Okay. So, but the boy grinned. The boy was like, boy is just the same as he was previously. The boy grinned at their words while they walked grumbling down the hill once more. Later, the boy saw a real wolf. See, now things are getting serious. Later, the boy saw a real wolf sneaking around his flock. Alarmed, he jumped on his feet and cried out as loud as he could, "Wolf! Wolf! Wolf!" So this time he's actually serious. He's actually very concerned. He's completely frightened now. There's a sentence in Hindi I could use, but I don't want to. So wolf. He's like, "Wolf, wolf, wolf." Now he just gets up on his feet and he's completely like he's very frightened now. And now you have to show the real frightening. "Wolf, wolf, 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 wolf." So you can create different versions of it. This is my version. Like individuality. You have to add individuality, as I've been saying that often. But the villagers thought he was fooling them again. And so they didn't come to help. See, now the villagers are very chilled out. They'll be like, okay, this guy has lost his mind. He does that very often and we're not paying any heed to this guy. We're not listening to him. So in this sentence, you have to portray the emotion. But the villagers thought he was fooling them again. And so they didn't come to help. Was it different? Like, why not add those emotions to every sentence? Because I've told you all the time, more expression, more emotion, more intonation. Okay, more of all these three. So the next sentence, at sunset. Now the narrator is getting serious. Okay, at sunset, the villagers went looking for the boy who hadn't returned with their sheep. When they went up the hill, they found him weeping. There was a wolf here. The flock is gone. I cried out. So he's actually weeping. Now you have to portray this weeping emotion. There was really a wolf here. The flock is gone. I cried out, "Wolf!" But you didn't come. You didn't come. He wailed. So when he's wailing, he has to sound like he's wailing. So he's crying, he's full of tears. You have to portray that in your voice. There was a real wolf here. The flock is gone. I cried out. Now he's also irritated. He's also like, he's completely in his senses. He has also realized he has been fooling around with them, and he has got a good shot at it. And he's completely he's completely feeling bad. At the same time, he expected them to help, but they didn't. So you didn't come. He wailed. So you have to show these crying emotions. So an old man went to comfort the boy. As he put his arm around him, he said, now there's an old man's narration here, old man's words here. So old man is supposed to sound like an old man, right? So how will you make an old man sound like an old man? You have to sound like an old man. So he will say something like, nobody believes a liar, even when he's telling the truth. You have to make sure that the person feels like he's actually saying, you know what, you are a liar. You're a liar. Nobody believes you. That old man is actually saying that, but he's also saying him like, okay, fine, you have made this mistake. Calm down. You have to portray this emotion. Nobody believes a liar, even when he's telling the truth. You can create different versions of this. You have to sound like an old man. Like, imitate yourself. Imitate creating an old man. So, this is one script that we have practiced. Okay, I've told you, I have explained this script in way more detail than most of the other scripts, for the very simple reason because I know the potential that we hold in this segment of voiceovers. Like, you better try to understand it very nicely, because once you understand it very nicely, you'll be able to do it at multiple clients. You'll be able to do it at multiple clients, and these clients will keep coming back to you. So I want you to practice a lot on these emotions, because this requires more emotional shifts than most of the other scripts. You'll have to change emotions very often. Like, you just saw that the last sentence was a happy one, the next one was a sarcastic one, the next one was a complete different sentence, the next one was a sad sentence, the next one was a grumpy sentence, the next one was a wailing sentence, the next one was a moral kind of sentence, it was a wisdom oriented sentence. Look at the variations in just one script. So in order to, this is where a good voiceover artist is distinguished from a normal one. I want you to be the best one. So in order to be the best, you have to completely get this. Okay, you have to get this very nicely, and of course maintain your originality. Okay, you might be able to do this better than me. All right, so this is about children's stories. We'll go to the next one very soon.